Welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. I'm Joe, and this little episode of Cigar Collectibles is actually an outro, encore, I don't know, what you will, encore, yeah right, to my very long but very informative Fuente Opus X Perfection X Cigar Review, episode number 19, where I pretty much review an Opus X cigar, the Perfection X, and go over Fuente history, brand history, starting from the moment Arturo Fuente landed in Florida in Key West, and all the way up to the point that Opus X was created and a little thereafter. At the end of the episode, I mentioned that, you know what, to top this episode off, since we're talking about this cigar, that, you know, this legendary cigar, and please don't twist my words, you really have to watch the other episode to land on what I'm really saying when I'm talking about legendary and all sorts of stuff like that. We already went into detail about how the cigar came to be and got its name, and you know, all the stuff on how people feel about it in that episode. So I'm not going to talk about that here. Here, we're just going to show just how huge this brand actually is. Now, laid out in front of me, I have what some people may not believe are just a bunch of standard Opus X shapes. There are, in general, there are 16 shapes. Some are rarer than others. Some are very common. The most common are probably the Double Corona, the Chateau, and the Reserva Chateau, which is like a Churchill, and the Perfection X. Those are very common cigars. Also the little ones, the Fuente, the number 5s, the number 4s. Those are all very common. Then it gets a little more tricky and depends, again, like we talked about, how much business the retailer does with Fuente and exactly what specialty cigars are sent their way. It seems that Fuente is always coming out with new Opus X shapes. I do not have everything, but I have a fairly large collection. So, we're going to go over that. But people who watch the episode are saying, wait, you made me come back here to look at a bunch of fucking Opus X shapes? You said there was something special you wanted to show me. There is. And for some reason, I've had several requests because of something I said in an episode a long time ago about Fuente. I've gotten several emails actually about, when are you going to show this? When are you going to show this? So today I'm going to show it. I think some people thought I was full of shit and I didn't really have it. Not that it's something that, look, here's the thing, it's rare, but it's still all over the fucking internet. But it's fun and it's cool to look at. Before we do, let's take a look at these shapes real quick. Here we have a line of Opus X shapes, pretty much standard shapes, and I'll go over each one. You may notice that there are 14. There are actually 2 shapes that I am missing. Quite pissed off about that. Could have sworn I had them. One is the Pussycat, which is so small, I think I might have lost it. So I think that's why that's missing. And the other one that's missing is a Petite Lancero. Anyway, let's go over them. Actually, let me open up that A size so you can see what we got there. So here we are with our Opus X standard shape lineup. Let's just go over that real quickly. To the left, from left to right, you have the longest cigar coming in at 9 1/4 inches. That is the Opus Perfection A size cigar. Then you have next over the Double Corona, followed by the Reserva Chateau, and then the Perfection X, which we just smoked. Those 4 cigars are fairly common to see in shops. Even the Opus A, because it does come in, and when it does, it sits around because it's expensive, and people generally don't smoke that size. Usually bought up by collectors and the like. That's an old one right there, actually. I got that about 5 years ago. Then you have the Perfection number 2. Followed by the Super Bellicoso, and then my favorite, the Fuente, which Corona-shaped cigar. After that, you have 2 Robustos, one in cedar and one that is not, kind of weird. I don't know when they started putting cedar on it, because I know the one that's not in cedar is older. Then you're followed by very similar shape, but a little thinner and a little shorter, the Perfection number 4. Yes, and then the number 5, which is very, very small, even smaller than the Pussycat. A little longer, but 42 ring gauge instead of a 40. So yeah, it's even smaller than the Pussycat. Then you have the Magnum O. These are pretty tough to come by. That big fat, it's like a short Robusto. That's probably among the widest ring gauge of the standard releases, I think. Yeah, 54. So that is true. And then you have the very famous Bellicoso XXX, aka Power Ranger. Story on that, how that name came to be, which I'm not going to get into. And then that little teeny figurado at the end known as the Love Affair. And I saw those start to come out after Lost City came out and had a similar shape. So that's about it for the standard line. Let's take a look at some much more rare shapes that are also a part of the regular Opus X series. Same blend and everything, just not part of the standard lineup as we see here. So here we have a range representative of the standard Opus X line. There are 16 shapes total in that line. We're missing a few here. As said, the Pussycat, Petite Lancero, and the Shark, which I didn't mention because that's somewhere else in a minute. But there are 16 shapes, which is more than any other line on Earth has in it, as far as I know. Even a line that has 7 or 8 shapes is big, you know. So 16, that's fucking crazy. That's crazy. However, it doesn't end there. Opus X makes some of the most unique, rare, sometimes even strange shapes that I've ever seen produced in the cigar industry. Now, if you're a collector and this isn't enough for you, and you are, you know, a worshiper of the Opus X brand, then you're in luck, because every year Opus X makes a treasure chest, if you will, filled with some of the most outrageous cigars ever created on this planet. And I will show you now. Here it is, the creme de la creme, Davy Jones' locker of specialty cigars, the Fuente Charitable Opus X box. Every year they make one of these. They've been doing it for a while. This one here is marked November 2011. This is the 2011 box. And within it is some of the, as I said, some of the craziest shapes. One of the most famous is the BBMF, Big Bad Mother Fuente. And that shape is, I remember when I was new to cigar smoking, I was only in for like a year or so, and started learning about Opus X, and of course went searching my ass off to find these cigars. And then I heard somebody talking about a BBMF. And I asked them, what the hell is a BBMF? And of course everybody goes, big bad motherfucker, don't you know? Opus X, big bad motherfucker. It's the strongest, most powerful, most legendary, most awesome, most flavorful, craziest fucking cigar you'll ever stick in your mouth. The BBMF, man. And it's one of those cigars when collectors, smokers, or anyone new anyway, and sometimes even people who've been around for a while, when they first hear of it, they can't get it out of their head. They just have to fucking find one. Well, that's one of the cigars contained within this treasure trove. It's not a part of the standard line. Most of these shapes aren't. There are a few standard line shapes included in these boxes when they come out. For instance, there'll be, you know, they're each individual caskets. Some contain regular shapes like the Double Corona, the Chateau Fuente, etc. But a lot of them contain shapes that you really can't get anywhere else, or that are at least only released once in a while in very special circumstances. So why don't we take a look at this amazing collection of Opus X shapes. So here is the Opus X Charitable Foundation box, November 2011. Like I said, they make one of these every year, and they usually produce 500. Very nice box. Too bad it's not a humidor, but it's a really, really nice box. Inside, you have individual coffins on the top and on the bottom, each with a different shape. I put all the good shapes on top, and all the, you know, there's 3 Lanceros, there's, you know, 2 double Coronas, there's a bunch of stuff on the bottom that's not really worth looking at because we just saw it already. But on the top, you have all of your specialty shapes, including BBMF, even a BBMF Maduro, etc., etc. Why don't we open up all of these and take a look at them? And so there is our top layer, specialty shapes, the Opus X Charitable Foundation box 2011. I like this box because it really has a lot of the special shapes. A lot of the earlier boxes were full of a lot of crap, and then, like, you know, a BBMF here and it's something there. This one has a really good amount, almost all of the real specialty shapes that have come out since. On the left you can see the two BBMFs, the Natural and the Maduro. We'll zoom in and take a closer look in a minute. The LBMF, which is a smaller version of the BBMF, that's a pretty cool smoke right there. Wait till I do close-up of the way they do the tails on these cigars. I mean, they really are works of art. That is the LFMF, Little Fat Mother F Fuente or Fucker or whatever you want to say. But it's kind of like a Magnum O, only it's even fatter. Then you have the Opus X Rising X. You really can't see why it's called that from here, but it's got a little X at the top of it that kind of points up and goes flying up. There you have the Perfecto X. It's a Perfecto shape, looks like a Hemingway kind of, Perfecto shape Opus. Notice the black X on that one, that is a Forbidden X, Toro, was included in this box. And that is as far to the left as we are going, because once you get past Forbidden X, you start getting into territory like Lost City, Opus 13. I'm not even going to start breaking that out. Those really aren't Opus X shapes. They're different sub-brands and lines altogether. But there are a whole bunch of shapes in that category as well. The Forbidden X, by the way, you take that out of the cellar, smells the best among all of them. I don't know what they do to it, age it in some special oak barrel, a cask or whatever, but the thing smells like pure spice cabinet. Unbelievable. Open a bottle of allspice and sniff that, and that's what the thing smells like. Next to that, you have Taurus the Bull. It's a big, fat-sized Toro. So, moving right along, Taurus the Bull. Escorpion Natural. There is a Maduro, but I don't have room to stand them all up. That's the Escorpion Natural. Again, we'll take a zoom on the way that thing is rolled. Really cool. Black Orchid. I believe this was the first box they released the Black Orchid in. And it's a Maduro wrapped, small, it's almost like a Petit Lancero with a pigtail with a Maduro wrap. It's almost a Scuro, a very strange one. And then at the very end, the Chili Pepper. One of my favorite shapes. It really does look like a little chili pepper. It's got a Perfecto Figurado type end, but then the head of the thing swoops up in that pepper type shape. Let's take a closer look at some of these shapes. But just before we do, I want you to see, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, 22 altogether. 11 more shapes on top of the 16 standard shapes. That makes 27. 27. Oh, and I couldn't stand this up. Oh, Escorpion Maduro. That makes 28. So this is the last shape I wanted to show you. Couldn't stand it up. It's the Opus Shark. 77 Shark. And basically a Super Bellicoso, but with a round to square configuration. It's got a box pressed body all the way down to the foot and a round torpedo type head. You recognize this if you smoke Añejo and you've seen the Shark 77. That's when they first made that cigar with the Añejo. I love the way they did the double bands on these. I mean, they really did go out of their way to dress them up special. The smell is it's all pure cedar. Really, really beautiful case. Really, really beautiful box. So, if you count all the shapes we have here, plus the standard line, 16 in the standard line, 11 up top here, 12 with the Shark, 13 with the Maduro version of the Scorpion, 14 is a Lancero. That's 14 and 16. That's 30 shapes in the Opus X line. That's unfucking precedent. That's unnecessary even. But these shapes, as you can see, well, let's do some close-ups and you'll see a lot of these shapes, while are highly smokable, and I've smoked them before, I got lucky and went to a shop where I got this box and they were actually selling. They're not supposed to because it's charitable, and honestly, the retailer is supposed to sell the entire thing as a unit because the money is for charity. But sometimes they open it if they can't sell it and start selling shapes. You know, the problem with opening it is everybody wants the BBMFs and the special shapes. Nobody wants the Lancero or the double Corona in a thing. You can't make the price of the box. So it's not right, but anyway, you know, that's how you get lucky once in a while, and you can get some of the specialty shapes. Here's a quick look at some of the more oddball shapes. The two BBMFs and the Scorpion and the Rising X and the small, the LBMF. They really do a great job on, you can see it's a figurado shape. They use a different color wrapper, like a Maduro on the very tip. And then they come up with a, I guess they take all the tobacco at the end that would be cut off and kind of turn it into this loopy tail braid kind of thing held together with this. It's really, really great work of art stuff. The Scorpion ends up in this tiny little stinger tip at the very top. It's also a square to round configuration that ends in a perfecto. And that's like a cigar that's made of every type of shape, you know. it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy stuff. Oh yeah, favorite right here. The little chili pepper that I mentioned before. So that's about it. We're going to wrap it up, but just to show you all in all an insane array of shapes within the Opus X line. And one has to think, how successful does a brand have to be for it to be able to create this many shapes for one line? It really is insane. And it's not like, you know, that's the company, Opus X. Fuente has... I think they have 9 or 10 lines, I mean, full of shapes, all different types of cigars. This is only one line within their range, and it's just an incredible array. To even think that these aren't even all of them. There are ones I don't have here. There is an Opus X Perfecto, a straight Perfecto shape. I showed you this. This is the Perfecto X, but there is one, it's in here. These, if you want a special Opus shape, you get yourself one of these little charitable boxes. These are from 2010 and 11. They come with a Diamond Crown and an Opus Perfecto. The other one is a Diamond Crown, the other one's a Diamond Crown Maximus, but they both come with an Opus Perfecto. And basically, these are sealed. I don't feel like opening them. I don't know why. I'm just leaving them closed. You know, smoke them in 20, 30 years if I'm still alive, whatever. But I would say it's roughly this size, but in a Perfecto format. Anyway, it's another different shape. So that makes 31 total. Pretty insane. Pretty insane. So that's about it. That is a special cigar collectible, non-Cuban cigar collectible episode showing you some of these highly sought after Opus X cigars. Very, very cool stuff, and I'm sure we'll see more and more shapes in the future. They're always imagining something new. How many ways can you roll a cigar? As many as you can imagine. Oh, actually, sorry, there's 32 shapes. I forgot about the infamous Opus X football. Yes, there is a shape that they roll that is literally like a miniature football. And when I say miniature, I mean the thing is like, you can hold it like this. It's insane. There's a reviewer out there who actually smoked one and ended up giving it a 70 out of 100. I don't blame him. I mean, anything with that much fucking filler, I mean, come on. It can't be that good, you know? So, once again, thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed doing this, putting this together, because it's not often I get to show off my own little Opus X collection. It helps satisfy the collector in me. Honestly, if I wasn't a Habanos fan, you know, and I have a need to smoke cigars constantly, but I also have a need to collect the good stuff. it's kind of like a little thing that's embedded in me. I've always collected something growing up, whether it be baseball cards or comic books, and now it's cigars. Unfortunately, you know, I'm a big Habanos fan, and there are these jars that everybody knows I'm obsessed with. So when it comes to domestic cigars, I don't do a ton of collecting. I don't have the biggest, most immaculate collections, but I do still like to do a little. And I hope you enjoyed looking these over. I hope it helps you make a decision of whether or not you want to collect some Opus X cigars, or at least try and smoke one. Do remember, this is the, you know, outro, if you will, to the Fuente Opus X review, episode 19 in the Cigar Review section. And I do highly, highly recommend you look at that review. It'll tell you the whole Fuente story, gets into a lot of really cool stuff, including whatever happened to Arturo Fuente Jr., all sorts of different things. And it gives you a much more in-depth view of how I really feel about Opus X, because while I have this collection here in front of me, it's not really symbolic about, I have it just because I can. You know what I mean? And it's something I collected, I don't know, just because I could, I guess. I mean, the thing was available, I had the money, and there were no jars around at the time, and I figured, why not? Let's do some Opus X. I'd be really interested to see how some of these cigars smoke, but I won't smoke them for many, many, many years, especially if I leave them in the cellophane. One day, if I decide I'm not going to sell it, I'm going to smoke it, then I will probably remove them all from the cellophane and then let them age for another good 4 or 5 years like that. I want them to be good. I want to make sure they're good. And with Opus cigars, as I said in my Fuente episode, the number one ingredient you really want to mix with Opus X is patience. It took them patience to grow that leaf. When you look at the way the story is, on our part, if we want it to be as good as they can be, you got to give a little patience, you know, because that filler can be a little rough sometimes. Anyway, that's about it. That wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember, the number one thing cigars are about is enjoyment. If you're not enjoying them, you might as well not smoke. So, thanks again. This is Dr. Joe, and keep on smoking. Say goodnight, Max.